Welcome into the inverted microphone. My name is Rees, Goodall. That is Joa'o, Lara. And we are coming to you after the Premier League season has concluded. Arsenal are the Premier League champions, which is an incredible feeling to say that aloud. But we've got you with some award talk on this show. Joa'o, Lara Jr., you're the one that's going to be talking awards with me. How are you feeling on this Wednesday morning? Well, I am happy for you, Joa'o, Lara Jr. The World Cup, everyone's looking forward to it, so you're not alone in that. But as we mentioned, Premier League awards to kick off the show. There's a final this weekend that is being played, so we'll talk a little bit about that. What else is there? Oh, World Cup squads. Some have been announced, not all. England, USA, just to name a pair. So we'll have to give some attention to those. And then finally, talking about some controversy going on between one club's captain and another, or the same club's former captain, which is a conversation I know Joa'o will be happy for, as will some people that replied to our Instagram reels. They'll be happy to hear that as well. But Joa'o, Lara Jr., Premier League awards, that's what we're talking, isn't it? Yes, I'm ready for the controversy as well. So the awards that we have for you today: Player of the Year, Manager of the Year, Young Player of the Year, Signing of the Year, Shock of the Year, but in a good way. I couldn't think of a better word for that. I'm certain there is a word for that, but I couldn't think of it. And then Underwhelming of the Year, aka the Tottenham Hotspur Award. So Joao, I think we work our way up to the Player of the Year award. Uh, so Joao, start with underwhelmer of the year. Yeah, that is probably the easiest pick for this award. 5 goals, 3 assists in 33 Premier League appearances. And if you include all competitions, it rises to 15 goal contributions in 49 games. But for the price tag, you're not paying for 15 goal contributions in 49 games. For my underwhelming of the year, my underwhelm of the year, there's just no way that's the right wording of this. I went for a club, and this is a club that Joa'o, Lara Jr. had winning the title this year, I believe. That's Chelsea. Chelsea finished the season in 10th, and it's not really their whole fault, obviously. The Enzo Maresca situation, I'm certain by when it's all said and done, Chelsea fans will look at Maresca as a snake because he was apparently talking to Manchester City while still in the job and then resigned, leaving Chelsea in a very, very bad position. They bring in Liam Rosinha, which was an absolute disaster. They lose in the Carabao Cup semifinal to Arsenal, and then after that, their entire season is just down the drain. Callum McFarlane, bless his heart. I don't know if you saw the photos of him, Joao, after the last game of the season against Sunderland, or it might have been before, but he's in the luxury boxes in some sort of hospitality with the fans. And they're taking pictures. And, a lot of the photos are with little kids and they're smiling. The little kids are happy as Larry. And you look at Callum McFarlane and he looks absolutely miserable. And to me, that sums up the Chelsea season. When it was young, it was happy, it was joyous. You think, oh, what can they do coming off the Club World Cup win? And then by the end of it, when you're old and grizzled like Callum McFarlane, who isn't even that old, you're miserable. The Club World Cup was last year, Joa'o. Positive shock of the year. This is a difficult one, Joao, to be honest, because you know what? It's not that difficult. I think it's positive shock in. All right, I'm going Danny Welbeck here, right? Danny Welbeck is 35 years old. He scored 13 goals in the Premier League this season. I know that's kind of not the route we typically go down. It's kind of a random pick. But I mean, Danny Welbeck, there was a time this season where people were asking for him to get back into the England squad, where he hasn't played for England since the 2018 qualifiers, since 2018 World Cup, right? And the form that he was in was so high. The other name that I had in mind for this award was more because of how we viewed him at the halfway point of the season, and that was Victor Gyökeres. The form that he was in down the back half of the season, down the run-in of this season, really turned my mind on Victor Gyökeres and turned him into an almost can't drop, a guy who needs to have his name penciled into the team sheet no matter what. Joao, who do you got? And what are your thoughts on Welbeck? Yeah, that is feels like the right pick. I mean, even with how lofty expectations grew around Sunderland before the season because of some of the signings that they made, which one of them will be in my signing of the year talk. Actually, but won't win the award. But that's for a minute from now. The expectations again, as high as they were, a lot of people were looking at them as dark horses because they came in and they invested a lot of money. They were still so good against these big six clubs at home. I mean, they took points off Arsenal in a very ugly match that looked to almost have derailed the title race then. But still, I think to meet the expectations and then exceed them for a promotion for a promoted side is always difficult, but I think Sunderland rewrote the guide on how to do it. Well, I hinted at one player, but I'm not going to go for that one player. My signing of the season is not for a Big Six club, which probably is the way it should be. Um, Big Six clubs, they're born, aren't they? For 10 million pounds, Junior Krupi to AFC Bournemouth. It was technically a signing from February, where they just loaned him back to Lorient, but 13 goals in his debut season in the Premier League. He's 19 years old, kid full of potential, and very well could be it back in the signing of the season talks next year. Lots of rumors around him joining various different clubs in and out of the Premier League. So I'm very excited to see where he goes with his career. Obviously, scores the goal that seals the title, so he has a special place in many people's hearts. But definitely, again, showed so much promise this season. I'm excited to see where the wind blows for Junior Krupi's career. Yeah, he was the first teenager to score against all three of the teams that finished the season in the top three within a single season. So, little bit of a cherry picked stat, I cannot lie, but nonetheless, a very cool stat. The other name that I had in mind for signing of the season was Granit Xhaka to Sunderland. Bringing in a player like Granit Xhaka for a promoted side is getting yourselves an absolute dog, a guy who is going to run the midfield, but also be a leader off the pitch. And there's a reason he held the captain's armband many of times this season. And for the fee they paid, it wasn't too much money. Bringing in a guy like him was a great bit of business for Sunderland. Yeah, that's definitely the critical part for Sunderland is figuring out a way to invest the Europa League money that they're set to earn by qualifying. They'll definitely need a few more pieces. I'd like to see them play a little bit more attractive football. Was it that fun to watch? No, but could it have been worse? Yes. Moving forward, young player of the season. We may have mentioned one candidate. There's another on my mind. Joa'o. You've asked the last few. I'll ask you to start this one. Who do you have? I agree. And I think when you have a player who grew up as a midfielder, grew up through the academy ranks playing in midfield, whether it's an 8, a 6, or even a 10, moving them back into fullback creates such a dynamic player. And we saw that with O'Reilly. We saw that with Miles Lewis Skelly last season and parts of this season. You get a guy who is very solid defensively, but in possession, they can move forward. They can drift into the half spaces even further if Pep or Mikel allows them to. The way O'Reilly did it really was unique to Lewis Skelly even then, but again, he was so brave. He scored a couple of goals in the Carabao Cup final to win it for City. So it wasn't like he was just a small moments merchant. he showed up big. I mean, he had a great performance against Real Madrid earlier in the year. He scored quite a few goals for City to keep them within the competitions. So I agree. He's really the number one for Young Player of the Year by some margin. Number two is Junior Krupi. Yeah, I can't disagree with it, especially, winning the title after everything that Arsenal's been through over the last handful of seasons. What a voice crack there, dear me. Um, I I hope not. I'll delete it. You'll never see this on any platform. Uh, there are jokes on Arsenal Twitter, and it always cracks me up whenever I read it. It usually is somebody retweeting a clip of Mikel Arteta giving a speech in the dressing room, and it's something along the lines of, the world should be thankful that Mikel Arteta didn't decide to be a dictator in some random country, because he just fires you up. He gets you to believe in these things. And that's why Arsenal won the title. I know that's a ridiculous route to get to where it ended, but still, he is such a good leader. And, you know, this season was all about winning the title for Arsenal. We've spoke about that a handful of times. The style of play this season, was it attractive all the time? No, absolutely not. There's a reason they won so many games 1-0, especially against the sides like Burnley, West Ham, both of which will be playing in the championship, that they barely eked out victories over. But it was all about ending the season with 3 points, not 3 points, but ending each game with 3 points, hoping it piles up. And they won the title by 7 points. I mean, I think that's kind of crazy to even think about. This was a title race we all thought was going to go down to the last day. We were going to have eyes on Manchester City, Aston Villa, and Arsenal Crystal Palace to see where the title would go. And then all of a sudden, Arsenal's won it by 7 points. You add 2 more games to the season, Arsenal lifts the trophy, which is an incredible feat. My manager of the season is Keith Andrews. Keith Andrews with Brentford. Before the season, I said this is the manager who is going to get sacked first. There is no doubt in my mind. Keith Andrews is way out of his depth taking this job. He's only ever been the set piece coach. Blah, 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 blah. I couldn't have been more wrong. They finished ninth in the Premier League. Was it attractive? No. Do you care? Also, no. When you finish ninth in the Premier League as Brentford, that was a really, really good season. I thought when they lost Thomas Frank, they were a sure shot to go down. And all of a sudden, Keith Andrews gets them into the top half. So, tip of the cap. Well, before we move on, I'd like to add some more about Brentford. Brentford, I think, they kind of bottled it at the end. They bottled European football. They dropped points in their last 3 games. Granted, against difficult opponents, losing to City, drawing with Palace, and then drawing with Liverpool. If they had picked up literally just 1 more point, they'd be playing European football next season. I think that's the best thing for them that they drop points in these last 30 games of the season, because not having to play European football is absolutely huge, because now you have the advantage over Brighton, Sunderland, Bournemouth, who are going to have to play these extra games. They're going to have to invest more money for depth, while Brentford can just keep adding on the way they've been doing. But yes, John, now we can move forward. Well, before I begin, I just have to say I don't know. I don't know what I have to say. Well, back you were saying there's many candidates. I think there's only two, right? And for me, there's only one winner. And my Premier League Player of the Year is Declan Rice. I think Rice was hugely impactful to Arsenal winning the title on both ends of the pitch, whether he was playing in his box-to-box role or sitting deep as a six, or joining the back line as that kind of sweeper role, quote unquote. He won duels up and down the pitch. He created chances. The set pieces also. Arsenal do not win the title without Declan Rice. Arsenal do not win the title with a player half as good as Declan Rice. It's just as simple as that. I think Declan Rice is one of the most irreplaceable players on Arsenal. I think I understand all the points, right? I think obviously Bruno Fernandes had a great season, all things considered. But to me, also one of the things that pushed it into Declan Rice's favor, in my mind, is Declan Rice made 54 appearances across all competitions and finished the Premier League season with 3,099 minutes. Bruno Fernandes only played 37 games across all competitions with 3,066 minutes in Premier League play. I think when the thing that made Manchester United this successful this season is that they only played 40 games in all competitions, right? When you have to play 54 games in a season, and that doesn't even include the FA Cup because Rice didn't play in the FA Cup games, and when those games start to pile up, that's where the diamonds are made. Pressure makes these diamonds. That's where the exhaustion of how do you keep going, how do you go and win the title when you played 3 days ago in Madrid to try and secure a place in the Champions League final. How do you keep going when you lost the Carabao Cup final 3 days ago, but you've got another Premier League fixture against a team in the top six. Manchester United didn't have that. They didn't have that fixture congestion. I want to call it a luxury. I also want to call it a misfortune, because it's a luxury because you're playing in these big competitions. But in United's perspective, it's a luxury because you get weeks between games. It's a misfortune because you don't get to play these big competitions. You don't get to play for these big trophies. So that's my perspective, and I think this leads us in to a conversation we're gonna have later, but I think we should have now. I think it kind of flows better now. The controversy around Bruno Fernandes' captainship. Joa'o. Roy Keane says some things. He's not the biggest fan of Bruno Fernandes as captain. Mainly because of this assist record, the way the last couple of games has kind of become all about his assist record, which is very ironic given that assists are kind of a team stat. As great as they are for the individual that creates the chances, the assist is only possible if, I was going to say Rasmus Højlund, if Benjamin Šeško's on the back post to put it away. Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you have Højlund in there, Lord knows how many assists Bruno has this year. So I'm curious to get your perspective on this, because to me, I think it's an interesting conversation. I think it's a conversation that almost needs to be had, because you do look at what Bruno Fernandes has accomplished simply in his captain. And won the FA Cup a couple of years ago. He's, I believe, 1-3 in, or 1-4 in cup finals. Lost 3, won 1. While Roy Keane obviously played under Manchester United's greatest ever manager and in the greatest era of the club, won a lot. So I'm curious to get your thoughts, mainly because you are a United guy. I think I think the like I do get it. Like I get every side of it, right? The assist record. I talked to you when I saw the replay of the Dorgu goal. Seeing that goal might not stand as an assist. That would have the assist record has been famously cursed over time. De Bruyne should have broken it. Mesut Ozil should have broken it. He had 15 through I think it was 17 games. He finished the season with 19, or I don't even know if he got to 19. Right? No, that's Olivier Giroud's fault. I'll never forgive Giroud for that. But still, it's kind of been a famously cursed record. So I don't hate going for it. And it's like the same thing as like the Bam Adebayo 83-point argument. It's like, yeah, you're there. You're not gonna just sit up and respect the previous record holder, right? But I do understand a lot of Roy Keane's perspective on this because he's a guy who played under Man United's most successful era as the captain, won 5 Premier Leagues, a Champions League, everything under the sun. And Bruno Fernandes hasn't done that, right? The only thing he's won since being Manchester United captain, or even since joining the club, has been or he's won the FA Cup and then the League Cup. FA Cup is the only one he won as captain. And there was an interesting piece in The Athletic recently. I don't know if you saw this, Joa'o. It was sometime within the last week. It was about Pep Guardiola, about Manchester City. And it was when City played United early in the season. City won 3-0. And they were talking about Bruno Fernandes' leadership. And they were talking about the way, and or they were talking about the way that Bruno scolded some of his players. And which obviously, 3-0 loss kind of makes sense. But Pep saw it and was fuming at it from his own perspective. He said, apparently, if any of you ever do that, you will never play for this club again, which I found very interesting. And I think it all stems from people aren't happy with this iteration of Manchester United. People know that this United era is far away from what it has been in the past. And they're just going to poke holes at anything within it. They're going to poke holes at Sir Jim Ratcliffe, whether deserving or not. They're going to poke holes in Michael Carrick. They're going to poke holes in whoever the sporting director is, whoever the captain is, so on and so forth. And I think because Bruno Fernandes is the captain, he's only ever going to get this kind of stick. But then again, I don't know. Like, what were you gonna say? Captain is face of the club, and then they lead the club on and off the pitch. I mean, like he definitely is trying to lead, but there's leadership styles that are acceptable and not acceptable. I mean, look at Martin Odegaard with Arsenal. Like you don't ever see him, just rip his players apart on the pitch, right? If he even does it, it's far away from any camera, and it is taken to where nobody can see. You see him picking up his players, but I don't know. I feel like a lot of this conversation is just kind of old man yelling at a cloud. And I think, yes, Bruno Fernandes is not a great captain, right? Like, I think if in previous Man United eras, if you drop him in, he's probably not the captain. And they're definitely more successful. But like you also look at Bruno's track record, like when he's left clubs, like he didn't win a trophy with Sporting. Sporting go on and win the league 2 years after. Like I think there's evidence to like every side, and I think it's such a complex thing that if we didn't have more to talk about, we'd spend the whole hour talking about it. But because we do have more to talk about, we're gonna move forward. Joa'o Lara Jr. Champions League final this Saturday in the beautiful, beautiful country of Hungary, Budapest, Puskás Arena, between Arsenal and Paris Saint-Germain. Joa'o Lara Jr., initial thoughts? Yeah, I mean, I think all the points you make are valid. I think though the main thing, even as much as you praised it, I still believe that you are overlooking it. Is how great Arsenal's defense is. Like they're not just a really good defense. They're one of the best in recent history, right? I mean, David Ryan Goodall is the best goalkeeper in the Premier League. You can argue where he is in the world, right? The center back pairing of Gabriel and William Saliba is the best center back pairing in the world. There's no duo better than them. Calafiori or Hincapie on the left back, very good defenders, both of them, very versatile moving forward. If Timber's healthy, I think that's also a big storyline. If Urian Timber's fit to go, you go Timber is immensely important to this team. If he's not, you have to go Christian Mosquera, which would prompt some worries. But again, like I think it's going to be such. I mean, we've seen this season how teams have had difficulty breaking this team down. Bayern Munich only scored one, and it was really fluky goal in that game. And Arsenal scored three. I mean, I think it's why I struggle to see this game not going into extra time is because Arsenal's defense is so good, and I have question marks around their attack. Right? Is can they produce enough in a moment like this to be victors? And I don't know if they can, right? But I think that they can shut down PSG for long enough to get to 120 minutes. Does that mean they win inside 120 minutes? Who knows? Right? I don't think so, to be honest. But I think the one prediction that I will stand on is I struggle to see this game ending within 90 minutes. Yeah, yeah. Absolutely. I think that's the number one thing that I'm looking forward to within this match is watching how Vitinha, how Joao Neves go up against Declan Rice. If it's Zubamendi, if it's Lewis Skelly, Eze. I really think that is going to be such a fun battle to watch. Never mind the two teams' defense going up against the other's attack. The midfield is going to be so fun to watch. Is it going to be where this game is won? Probably not. But I still think it's going to be very fun to watch. Joao, let's make some actual predictions. I've predicted when it'll end. You've predicted a score line. Neither of us have predicted a winners. Give me winner, score line, who scores. Yeah, I can see it. I have PSG winning also 1-0. Usman Dembele in the 113th minute. Uh Arsenal's gassed. They commit numbers forward on an attack. Don't have enough back. Varscalia charges down the left. Plays it for Dembele. Wide open. Back in the net. 1-0. That's the Champions League. Right footed goal. He scores with his right. Yeah. Do you want to know a celebration? Oh, I don't know. My time machine teleported me back. Yeah, it is. Joao, Champions League talks over. There's a competition that's played between 48 nations after the Champions League, and that's the World Cup. Quite a few teams have announced their squads. Not Mexico, so we'll talk about them on the later day. I'm also not. Yeah, you mean June 1st? Yeah, I don't know if any Mexico squad is going to be talked about July 1st unless it's about them getting knocked out. But we talked about Brazil last week. We talked about France last week. Um I feel like Portugal, that was the other one we talked about. The USA released their squad. Joel Lara Jr. on this side of the pond. I know that's not your team of choice, but a couple of controversial decisions. Number one, Diego Luna doesn't make the squad. Number two, Aiden Morris doesn't make the squad. Number three, Tanner Tessman doesn't make the squad. Somehow, some way, Gio Reyna gets called up. Christian Roldan got called up. Very, very puzzling. I know Christian Roldan, they kind of look at us like, oh, he's a leader, but there's no reason this man should be on 45 international caps. But Joao, other than that, what are your thoughts on this U.S. men's national team? Rude. You can sort by positions, Joao. Hit the position button. Are you on Wikipedia? Okay. I'm on Wikipedia, so we'll go positions just for the sake of it. All right. Goalkeeper, Matt Turner, Matt Freeze, Chris Brady. Matt Turner stinks, right? Because he's not a footballer. That's his number one issue. He's a goalkeeper. He's a shot stopper. You ask him to play with his feet, he's not good. Matt Freeze is a better shot stopper, so he's my number one. Even though they didn't give him the number one, he's my number one, right? Any thoughts there? Okay. Defenders, Serginho Dest, Chris Richards, if he's healthy, Anthony Robinson, Austin Trusty, Miles Robinson, Alex Freeman, Max Arfston, Mark McKenzie, and Joe Scally. All right, initial thoughts is the U.S. have been playing with this three center back system for a good chunk of the Pochettino era. Having only Chris Richards, Austin Trusty, Tim Ream, Miles Robinson, and Mark McKenzie as your center backs is a little bit worrying, especially if Chris Richards isn't fit. Tim Ream's going to have to start. You're going to start Chris Richards next to him, and then you're going to start Mark McKenzie probably on the right. Miles Robinson should not see the field. Okay. And then your wingbacks are going to be Anthony Robinson and Serginho Dest. That I'm fine with everything except bringing in Alex Freeman. I don't really understand that. I think Max Arfston is very bad defensively, but he is very good moving forward. So I understand bringing him in. You can chuck him on last 5 minutes. But hey, the midfield, this is where it gets abysmal. Gio Reyna, I skipped over Tyler Adams. Tyler Adams, Gio Reyna, Weston McKennie, Sebastian Berhalter, Christian Roldan, Malik Tillman. Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie is probably your starting pivot, right? Your double pivot. And you're completely fine with that. Malik Tillman and Gio Reyna, they're more attacking players, so it's not really fair to talk about their inclusion. But Pochettino had one of the most absurd comments I've ever seen. He said that Gio Reyna might be playing as more of a defensive midfielder. To say that Gio Reyna will be playing is one comment. To say that I'll be playing as a defensive midfielder is even more absurd. The midfield depth is so thin, right? You don't have a guy, you don't have a Tyler Adams backup. You know, Sebastian Berhalter is an 8. Christian Roldan's an 8. Weston McKennie's is an 8. Gio Reyna's his backup. What on earth? I agree. I think with Gio Reyna, there's so many question marks around him. He's a guy who just flat out will never fulfill his potential. His potential. Obviously, I'm not going to say he's going to be the best player in the world, but he was going to be a really, really good player. Like from what he displayed with Borussia Dortmund. The injuries pile up. There's that weird moment in the 2022 World Cup where he nearly gets sent home, hardly features. I don't understand it. The forwards: Ricardo Pepi, Christian Pulisic, Brendan Aronson, Haji Wright, Florin Balogun, Timothy Weah, Alejandro Zendejas. Your front three is probably Pulisic, Balogun, Weah, unless you put Weah at right wing back. In that case, you'd probably put. I don't know. It's that whole forward lineup that I mentioned is just mid. Haji Wright's mid. Zendejas is mid. Ricardo Pepi is mid. Pulisic is like a step above mid. Brendan Aronson is trash. I think there's a world where this team very well could take 9 points from the group and win it with ease. Will they go much farther than that in the knockouts? Absolutely not. Right. But there's also a floor of this team where they draw one game and they're out. I think no, you go ahead. All right, I agree. Like I think an underperform to be honest, the bar for me is so low that anything above 1 point is exceeding my expectations, to be honest with you. But I do think it's not unfair to call this a golden generation, right? And what I mean is like, is this the best hope? Like it hopefully isn't a golden generation for the United States, right? You're hopefully like 20 years from now looking at that team and be like, wow, 2026, they were scrubs. But the players that like when they were 19, when Christian Pulisic was 19, you're looking at him with Dortmund and you're going, wow, okay, we might have something. Weston McKennie with Schalke, and then when he first made that move to Juve, you're going, okay. Gio Reyna, same thing here when he was with Dortmund to start his time. When Musa made the switch to the U.S., and you're thinking about what he could bring to the table. Tyler Adams, he's with RB Leipzig. They're playing in the Champions League. Then there's guys as well that aren't even included in the pool anymore that were making the jump over to Europe, and it changed a lot of people's perception. And like I get why people view this as a golden generation, but it's not like a Croatia's golden generation or a Belgium's golden generation that just is pretty much seeing its final days. Uh, where it's like, okay, these are world beaters. This team is not world beaters. They're nowhere close to being world beaters. And I don't know. I don't know where the conversation goes. Other nations in the world released their squads. Germany did, Netherlands did, Spain did. But we'll start with England because there's some controversial choices. Goalkeeper Jordan Pickford, Dean Henderson, James Trafford makes sense. It's just who's going to be behind Jordan Pickford. Jordan Pickford, 82 caps. His backups combined 5. The defenders, John Stones, Mark Guehi, Rees James, Esri Konsa, Dan Burn, Tina Livramento, Jed Spence, Nico O'Reilly, Jarrell Kwanzaa. I forgot that Kwanzaa got the call up until just now. Him and Jed Spence, I'm stunned to see that they got the call up. There's better players available. I know you don't want to go Trent because with Trent, you have this whole issue of where do you actually play Trent Alexander-Arnold? No England manager has figured it out. But not calling up I read Kyle Walker's name as I was trying to say Harry Maguire. Not calling up Harry Maguire. Probably not calling up Lewis Hall. Doesn't make any sense. Is that my biggest issue with this squad? No, I don't have any issues with this squad. I'll get to that in a moment. The midfield, Jordan Henderson, Declan Rice, Jude Bellingham, Morgan Rogers, Kobbie Mainoo, and Elliot Anderson. I think I would have liked to see Adam Wharton in there because he's so good on the ball. The player you would have had to drop would have to have been one of Kobbie Mainoo or Jordan Henderson. Elliot Anderson did enough this season to secure a spot. Jordan Henderson's a big enough leader, so you have to debate, is he better than Kobbie Mainoo? I don't know. It's very close. The forwards is where it kind of starts to get controversial again, as well as the inclusion of Morgan Rogers, Harry Kane, Marcus Rashford, Bukayo Saka, Ollie Watkins, Anthony Gordon, Eberechi Eze, Nani Madueke, and Ivan Toney. A lot of the controversy, Phil Foden and Cole Palmer and Morgan Gibbs-White, for that matter, not making the squad. For Cole Palmer's perspective, I think this makes sense. I think Cole Palmer's coming off a really bad season. He was not healthy for a large portion of it, and I think the injury is still bothering him. It's a groin injury. It's hard to recover from. So from a Chelsea's perspective, giving him the summer off, giving him a chance to recover before going into the season next year is huge for him. I also don't know how he fits into the team in terms of like a personality perspective. Based off the clicks that you can kind of see from the outside. I know this is stupid speculation. You can't really see Cole Palmer fitting inside many of them. Phil Foden, this was an admission that I almost wrote an email to Thomas Tuchel praising him for this. Phil Foden has massively underperformed for England his entire international career. And the question has also been, is he a left winger? Is he a 10? Is he a right winger? If you don't know a guy's best position by now, leave him out. And then the last omission is the only one that I think you can make a case for, or I'll make a case for, is Morgan Gibbs-White. He's coming off a really, really good season, 19 goal contributions. Nottingham Forest obviously struggled in all competitions. I would have liked to have seen him in there over Ivan Toney. I don't understand Toney getting the call up, but other than that, like I think Thomas Tuchel made some very bold decisions, but I think they're the decisions that England needs. Yeah, you really tried to push that one there. I think my biggest question mark that I'll put on this team is who do you play on the wings? I think you probably shuffle Florian Wirtz out to be your left winger, Jamal Musiala as your 10, um, and then as your right winger, I don't know, do you like Leroy Sané, Leonard Carl? Yeah, I mean, he definitely is in a position where he could be making a lot of appearances in this World Cup. The Netherlands, they released their team this morning. Apparently, they had a really good release video. Didn't wake up to watch it. So, in goal, Bart Verbruggen, Mark Flecken, and Robin Roofs, who had a really good season with Sunderland. It's a very interesting three. Flecken's not very good, but Verbruggen and Roofs could be fun to watch. The back line, the defenders, Virgil van Dijk, Denzel Dumfries, Nathan Ake, Jurjen Timber, Mickey van de Ven, Mats Wiefer, Jan Paul van Heck, and Ural Hato. Three Bournemouth players in this squad, or not Bournemouth, Brighton players in this squad already. The midfield: Frankie De Jong, Martin De Roon, Tiani Reinders, Teon Coop Miners, Ryan Gravenberch, Justin Clivert, Quentin Timber, and Goose Teal. The forwards: Memphis Depay, Wout Weghorst, Daniel Malin, Cody Gakpo, Noah Long, Brian Brobby, and Somerville. Wow, Saracencio Somerville made the squad. Thoughts on them? I said thoughts on them. Victor Lindelof. I'd put my money on the Netherlands as well, but I say I wouldn't be shocked if it was Sweden to go through over them. I think kind of my line of thinking is if there's a question mark surrounding a big team and a question mark and the same question mark surrounding a smaller team, the question mark around the big team is always going to be a lot more pertinent in my mind. It's going to stand out a lot more just because the expectations are loftier. But again, this is something doesn't matter. Yeah, Cape Verde. No, there is not, Joao. No, I just, want to go outside, enjoy the lovely weather here in Phoenix, Arizona. That's going to do it for this episode of the Inverted Microphone. Follow us on every single platform at the Inverted Microphone or at the Inverted Mic if you're on Twitter, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Find us. Joa'o, Lara Jr., where can they follow you? Follow me at Rees Goodall on Twitter. It's a beautiful game, but it's way more beautiful. I don't know. I can't think of what makes the game more beautiful.